name is Sjoerd de Jong, also known as Haurensis, and I started out with game development in 1999 by modding the original Unreal. From Unreal I moved on to modding an tournament. I created 24 standalone levels for that game, as well as several of its biggest mods, Excedia and Operation Apali. In 2003 it was that work that got me into the games industry. I started out with a small job for Streamline Studios, after which I was contracted by Epic Games to work on Anno Tournament 2004 as a level designer. I made 7 of the official levels, including the 2 demo levels Tolan and Rankin. After that contract, I was hired by Guerrilla Games and I worked on Shellshock NAM 67 for a year, and a bit on the first Killzone. I then moved on to Kaon Games, where I worked on the big Unreal Engine 2 MMORPG The Chronicles of Spellborn, while in the meantime I wrote my 2 books, and I took on contracts for Digital Extreme, on the Unreal Engine 2 shooter Warpath, and for WebSen on the Unreal Engine 3 game Huxley. After all that, I was employed by Starbreeze, and I worked on Syndicate for a while, followed by the startup of my own company, Theodol Studios. At Theodol Studios, I directed and I worked on our Unreal Engine 3 game The Ball and the UDK game Unmechanical. While working for my own studio, I also took on a contract for Plastic Piranha, as well as for several other smaller clients. Plus all of that aside, I'm also responsible for large bits of Sweden's prime game development indication Future Games nowadays. I wrote my first tutorial sometime around 2002, and I've over the years built out my website haurensis.com into a tutorial and training focused site. Hello and welcome at the second asset development video. This video continues where the first video left off. So in the first video we've gone over the basic setup of 3D Studio Max. We've done some basic modular modeling, collision, light mapping, vertex normals, mesh lots, package organization in general, technical understanding of how Unreal renders things, and we began getting into the material editor. In the first video we've done all kinds of still rather simple setups with the material editor, and this video will continue on that. We start this video off by looking at a couple of the ball materials, just so you can develop an understanding of how you actually would do all these kind of things in a real game. And then we will continue in looking into how to properly import textures. Again, the focus of this video is to make you production ready. I'm sure there's a lot of tutorials and videos out there that tell you how to import textures. I'm sure a lot of people already know how to import a texture into Unreal. But what I've seen very few tutorials and sources of information do is actually explain how you properly import things. If I were to be making a game and I would take in an artist to make things for me, I would want that artist to properly set everything up, to properly understand how Unreal handles textures, what properties are important, what settings must be checked, and so on. And that's what I call production ready, and that's the focus of both of these asset development videos. It's not just how to actually import it, it's how to do it properly. So there's a lot of technical things we will have to go through here at the start of the video. All of this, and then once we've covered those basics basically, we can move on to the second part, and that is setting up this character. So as for the second part of this video, we will be setting up this badass looking guy, and I have to give credit here to Benjamin Earth. This is his website. His website is benjaminearth.de, I believe it was. benearth.de, and he's the author of this model. He was one of the main character artists on The Ball, and he's a really crazy character artist. He has a lot of crazy, really detailed, really crazy monsters like this. So he's the author of this model we're using. So a lot of credits for him for allowing me to use his creation. Okay, so this model we're going to set up in the second part of the video. Not the model, but the material in specifically. We're going to be setting it up like this. We're going to be making use of our own material functions. We're going to be making use of instances. We're going to instance from an instance. And the material itself has to support all kinds of things. So this is the entire material we're going to be setting up. So besides doing the basics, adding in normal mapping and specular and diffuse, we will also be doing other things. For example, we need reflection on the diffuse, but only on the metal parts. We need to have some rim lighting has to be added onto it. That's what we do here. We would also have to add, we will allow the character to dissolve. So after it died, it should start disappearing. It should start falling apart. So we will set up a dissolve here. We have detail normal mapping on top of the normal, on top of the regular normal mapping. We do tricks here. So that's also the thing here. I'm first gonna start this video by explaining all of these technical things, all of this. So the start of this video is a lot of theory and a lot of examples, and then we will apply all of this knowledge in how to properly set up this character. And not just properly set up the material, but also properly set up every material in every texture used by that material. So here we're doing something special. For example, we took out the blue channel and we're using the blue channel for specularity. And then we regenerate the blue channel of the normal map in the material editor. And this allows us to use the blue channel of this normal map for something else. So I don't have to import a second texture. These are all kinds of things we'll get back to later. So we have detail normal mapping there. We have the eye here. If you look at the mesh, it's actually closing its eyes. It's quite a small detail, but every now and then it closes its eye for a moment. So we have that set up over here. Then we have support for electricity and we have support for fire. The electricity is a parameter. This is a character from the ball. So what we also had in the ball is that you can electrify the monster to kill it. So in order to be able to electrify a monster, you need to have the material set up to allow it to electrify things. So I can quickly show you how that would look. So now it's electrified. So we have to set up this kind of electrification effect so it can tie into the gameplay. Also, we have the fire effect, which is the following. If the monster goes near the 0 in height, then it will begin to glow and gradually burn more and more. See, as it goes down, it begins to burn, and then the fire begins to spread up, and we can also intensify the fire with a parameter. So if I could now change a number and it would begin to burn more and more, and at the same time it could begin dissolving him, so he would actually burn away. This is also something we've done in the actual game. Not exactly like this, it wasn't based on the height, but we did allow the monster to be burned by a fire, then it would start glowing and then it would start falling apart. In this case, I imagine that it could be a case where if the monster walks near lava, its feet should be glowing as it's walking near a lava lake, for example, and as it starts walking into the lava, it should begin glowing more and more. That could be an example. You could also use the exact same system we've used here to do the opposite. For example, if the monster reaches a certain altitude, it should begin freezing over, for example. It would be the same setup, just in the other direction, and with ice rather than fire. In the material otherwise, so this is the electricity, this is the fire that you just saw. Then we have the diffuse here, like I said, reflection and rim lighting. And then we have specularity here. So that's the whole setup. And the whole setup allows us to have some nice reflection on metal. As you can see here, you have some tiny highlights moving around.